Well, g'day everybody. Here we are again, and it's the 4th of September, which means it's probably Thursday, and the days just rocket. I can't believe it. I just don't get enough done every day, but there you go. Here we are, and the boats are going so fast. And I just had a look at I won't talk about it too much, but look at the projected times that the fleet was supposed to be in Cocos versus the speeds they're doing, which is really quite insane. And so, as passage makers, the 580 is proving quite fast, which surprised everyone with John Guswell and Tracker back in the good old days. We still haven't seen the comparisons yet. I'll send a message to Graham, I think, and just say, "Hey, jeepers, how's the numbers looking?" And in fact, I think they'll be on a par. I think the conditions are good for little boats. So. And I think that's the reason Coconut's bailed out. He's way back there. He's just embarrassed about how fast the 580's are. And Jill arrived. Had a great message from Gary last night or this morning as well, just saying he loves Darwin and all that sort of stuff. And all the boats would have fitted in fine, and biosecurity was really good and all this sort of stuff. So Darwin's an interesting place, and maybe it will be on the agenda for next one, maybe not. Because as much as it's all good, some people will say, "Oh, it's all the expense now, blah blah blah, more money, more time, blah blah." But we've certainly got no shortage of time. So it's interesting, just as the sailors are handle on the effect of the solar degradation of their sails because they've been up for so long, and some don't pack them away as often as others, and things like that. That's a good learning trick for all the new entrants in 29. To get a very good idea and a good feeling. Years ago, some of them were laughing and said, cut it out, 19-footer, you're not going to get 100 miles a day. And I say, well, look, there's no way they'll do any less than 100. But now, the norm is sort of over the period of time is always between sort of 115 and 120. I think that's a fair figure for the fleet. So we'll be reviewing all that. And for now, we've got to just look at how things stack up going through to Durban. And even that's a bit of a juggle now, because once they leave Cocos, as you know, the potential to get everything other than following seas after the beam is very real. There's a possibly even a 40% probability. No, you can't do it on probability, but the number of days, how many days will the wind be forward of the beam versus after the beam? At the moment, they've probably all the way from Portugal, they've probably been averaging about 80% of the time it's after the beam, and easy sailing. I think going forward from Cocos and certainly Mauritius, it's going to be close to 60-40, which is a dramatic difference, 60% sort of on the beam or after the beam and 40% forward of the beam. But it could be even worse than that. And not only that, the headwinds could be strong, which means you lose ground and it takes a lot longer to catch up again. And that's going to be a mindset that they'll all have to get used to. They'll think they might feel as if it's a disaster, that they're slowing down because, oh, jeepers, I've had headwinds, or I can't make forward progress for a week. I'm still trying. That's sort of normal for little boats. You read the little boat accounts, and when it goes bad, as in making forward progress, not bad weather all the time. It will go bad sometimes, but that whole happy situation of covering all these incredible miles so far, pretty comfortably, is something that is going to change, and who knows where it's going to go. But certainly the fleet is ahead of time, so the passage side of it is really intense. Okay, we've got a few people there. Let's go to the tracker. So you're on the tracker, and I'm going to just check my Facebook account here to see that I'm actually on. So while I do that, that's not right. Hang on, here we go. Rightio, I'm on. I'm there, and I think I can hear myself. So, yep. I'm going to turn the volume down. Okay, so you're on the tracker. Now I'm on the tracker, looking good. So there's the split. They're only a few days away from Cocos, which is interesting. We've been saying it's going to be Sunday. It might be a bit. I've been saying that for a couple of weeks, but let's see. Renault is now only 250 miles away, and at his current daily average of 140 45-mile days, that's less than 2 days. So today's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So he's going to be in sometime on Saturday. So that's kind of cool. I'll send a reminder note to our contacts on the island, not customs and immigration. These are what I call the friendly contracts. Not that customs and immigration are unfriendly. In fact, quite the reverse. I'm sure I've never met grumpy Australian officials anywhere. They have to do a job, and sometimes it's pretty tight. But jeepers, they're Aussies. So that'll be fun. They're going to really be looking forward to that. So 2 days away, sometime Saturday. That's pretty cool. Okay, and all seems reasonably well going through the fleet with the weather. So we'll start at the back end the way we usually do and see who's doing what. So Josh, 4.5, 118-mile day. That's pretty reasonable. It's not an intense breeze either. It's probably 15 knots, maybe gusting 20. So, but remember, we were expecting to see the sea build. 4.5 knots for Ayrton, 123-mile day, so that's all good. Jasmine is 4.3 knots, 131 nautical mile day, and that's looking good. 129 for Eric. So Jasmine, you're catching up to Eric. Not fast, but steady. 2 miles in a day. Nothing wrong with that. 2 miles is quite solid. So holding your own there. And Christian, 5.5 knots, 118-mile day. So losing ground to Eric, catching up from behind. Jacob, 4.9, 120-mile day. And Adam, 5.1, 121-mile day. So the back end's been catching up to the front end. And then we go all the way through to the front here. Huge gap there now because of that weather back there, just to give you a perspective. Nearly 400 miles behind. If I go bow to bow, they're 395 miles. So that's 4 slow days or 3.5 fast days. So it's still not too bad when you think it's from Fiji. So Pila looks as if she caught up a bit more ground. 5.7, 134-mile day. Oh no, probably the same as yesterday. Let's pick it up to that scale. Kerry, 5.7, 132. So 132 pulled Pila's pulled a couple of miles out of that. 143 for Daniel, 6.4. So there's definitely, these guys are going faster, which is consistently faster than Kerry at the moment. Not through lack of trying, I'm sure, from either party. Renault, 6.3, 145-mile day. So Dan did 143, so Renault still pushing away a bit. Whether he's still trimmed down by the bow, you probably notice when he leaves, the bow looks like it's sinking and the bum's up in the air. So that's a common trick for dinghy sailing, to stop the drag on the transom. And as the wind picks up, you shift a bit more weight down the back. If it's just average breeze, the boats are proving to be faster by trimming by the bow. There's a funny irony to that. When I did the my Transat, I did that by mistake. I thought I was trimming 4.5, but when I looked at the videos after the race was done, when I left Lanzarote, jeepers, I was down by the bow. So, that happened by accident, but maybe Renault decided to copy me and decided it worked. Not really, just joking. Anyway, Renault's still hanging out down there, which is really quite impressive. So, and Kerry's probably scratching his head, thinking, okay, been a long way from Fiji. There's not a lot in it now, but he just can't quite crack it. Dan's been closing at different times, so there's the gap for Kerry, 90 miles. The gap for Pila is about 214 miles. So less than a couple of days for Pila, less than a day for Kerry at 90, it's 18 hours at 5 knots. And Dan is about there. Dan's still hanging on to that 50 miles behind. So that's the story with the leaders, and that's the story. I'm coming back to look at the wind now. We'll do the wind and see what's happening. It's a bit quieter there. 2 days on the wind. Before we do, I'm going to check out the waves. Yep, it's picking up again, picking up on the way through. So it's coming this way. And if we come back a day, oh, jeepers, that's very defined. That's really interesting the way that's happened. Unusual. Usually it's coming up from this way. So it must be because it's got calmer. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, it's a strange reaction. But there it is, and here it comes. So these guys will just be getting in and be happy to get in. There's a good lee from this sea, which will obviously be coming up from the southwest, probably southwest direction. And then the others, 7, 8, yep, they've got it for much longer, as we saw yesterday. The 9th, it's holding, dropping back a bit on 10th, 11th. So they're all going to get a bit of a C. So back to the wind. I've got a new keyboard. Went for a big walk in the rain yesterday to buy a new mobile keyboard and set that up. So I'm pushing that every 3 hours again now, which is cool. You can see it's soft enough. You can see the defined line there of the sea coming in. So that's still distinct front. That'll be interesting. I'll look at clouds in a minute. Or not a front, it's just the expression of that spin off the top of the big high down south that we discussed yesterday. So it's bringing the breeze with it, and they're going to have a big wind coming in. I meant to look at windy on that, but I would suggest that's 28 gusting 35. So plenty of breeze there, and it's all going to come in the next 24. Well, they'll be in it within less, in half a day or so. The lead pack's going to be there. The others will get a little bit more of a respite. They're going to be 2 or 3 days away before they get there, and it might fiddle out a bit. Yep, it's fiddling out pretty big. So there's the 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 days. So the guys at the back are going to miss some of that. Plenty of trade wind there, though, but not quite as massive as when it moves in on the lead pack. So they're going to have a bit of a ride, bit of water around, I think. No, it's not too bad. There's a bit of a convergence there. This lot coming in here, this lot coming there. If that just rolls up, it's going to make we haven't looked at the current, but it's going to make it a very interesting sea. No, it's not too bad. Okay, so that's that. Let's look at the currents. It's all interesting because the wind's coming this way. So yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Just pushed a couple of days through. Oh, that's not moving. Yeah, not a lot of sudden change with the current, but getting a little bit weaker, so it's not going to have a negative effect on the sea state by the look of it. Not too much anyway, and that gives them a little bit of a help. I'd say that's giving them probably up to 12 miles a day, half a knot for sure. The back end of the fleet hasn't got much, but they'll get a bit of a ride when they get further into it. So clouds, this is the interesting one. It gives you an idea of what the pressure might be. This is a feature which could possibly bring some rain, but maybe not so much squalls. There's the rain line there. You can see it starting to form in through here. When that happens, it's not usually as squally as you get, but it could come in with a bang for sure, and be a little bit of turbulence, but not what I call a squall because it's lineal rather than being big holes where you get little systems forming. So, but it's still going to, I think you'll see some complaints about the weather. So, that's what sailors do. So that's within 24 hours. It's going to come over them and start to, it's very distinct. So I think there's going to be some stories there. Got to be really careful when you see that stuff because it's hard to predict. What I just told you could be all rubbish, right? The short stories, it's hard to predict. There's up above them there, you can see there's going to be all sorts of stuff going on in that rain and bits and pieces. So just pushing it through. There's going to be some fun times ahead for the fleet. That's cool. All right. So we've been through everything there, I think. Waves, rain, for temperature. Temperature should cool down when it gets to there. No, it's still pretty mild, pretty warm. Okay. That's it. I don't think I can show you or tell you much more about all of that lot. So I'm coming back here and I'll say g'day. Um, okay. All right. So that's kind of fun. And yeah, the only thing that was just looking at these pictures and stuff, nothing there to talk about other than how fast they are. I think this is surprising. There's two things that'll surprise other sailors. People gear up for a round the world trip. There's got the Arc Rally around the world, all that sort of stuff. It's all really, really great little adventure at various levels. You know, sailing around the world through the trade winds is always a challenge at best, but it's totally achievable, and there's a lot of people doing it. And certainly, by the time they're doing it, they feel pretty good and adventurous, and they see the 580s go around and say, "Oh, there's a bit of that there," and also the speed. They're all sailing really well. So it's blowing Jasmine's cover. She's not a non-sailor anymore. I'm happy about that. But anyway, that's another story. Um, Okay, so let's get into this and say g'day. Can you put the tracker back to real time and real position? No, not yet. I discussed this with YB this morning because there's traffic that goes from Indonesia down to some Australian reefs further down, and so they're still not in the clear yet. It's not just Timor; it's around the corner. There's boats out there that are going around, and who knows, it might be optimistic. So it'll come back, but not yet. Probably not for another week or so yet. But it's coming. It's coming. G'day, Adrian. Yesterday afternoon, Jasmine had the highest mileage, 144. That's not bad. Like a hand pink waving. I got to be careful when I repeat words now, because of a recent incident online, which was absolutely disgusting. But there you go. So hand. Not sure. I'm thinking about it before I say it. And I like your native bees, by the way, Alinka. They're pretty cool. G'day, Christine Renaud. ETA. Oh, it's Renaud. Oh, g'day, Renaud. Good to see you. We've got to chat sometime again. No one's chatting to me. I know you don't have to like me, but people are watching. They might like you. So we'll have a chat eventually. Saturday, 12 noon. There you go. If the wind still stays the same and hopefully not too strong to entree there. Yeah, I think you might be in the clear with that. I haven't looked for a while, but the wind direction it's got there, I think you're going to get a bit of cover, but might not be to the very last little minute. And then it's going to be a bit on the nose when you come in. So, and there's no one there to tell you, so you've got to be very careful. But the entrance is wide, which you see. I'm really explaining this for the people. I'll put a chart up of the entry into Christmas Island, not Christmas Island, but the Cocos, just to discuss that, because there's going to be some wind, and I'll try and do that tomorrow if I remember it right. Just to explain the entry, because it could be challenging if there's a heap of breeze. If you've got 30 knots and you're trying to tack in there, and then there's quite a bit of fetch up over the lagoon as well. So there might be a metre or so wind wave, metre and even a bit more. So it could be interesting. But anyway, the as you know, the line is there. You might be able to struggle in across the line to finish, and then just drift offshore a bit because it's going to soften off for a day or two. But you'll work it out. But it could be a bit challenging, and I'll explain that a bit more tomorrow for everyone who's wondering what I'm talking about. Anyway, good stuff. Hello from Darwin. G'day, Val. Question, please. Why are the 580s anchoring off a deserted island instead of going around to the west side where the supermarket is to buy food? Well, you're not allowed to go over there. There's a very distinct management plan for the island, and all visiting yachts have to stay the other side of the island. There's ferries that go across back and forwards, but you can't go in and anchor over by the jetty there, even though there might be room for one or two. It's working area as well, and there's possibly even some biosecurity issues there to start with, certain bits and pieces, so you don't have the option. As I said, the ferry, one on Saturday, one on Tuesday to get off the boats. You can call up a ferry of your own as well at any time. You can just call them up on the radio and they'll come out and pick you up. It costs you, but that's life. Question: how long will they have to stay in Cocos Keeling for? Trying to plan flights to Mauritius. Well, that's up for grabs at the moment. I'll make a decision in the next couple of days. I've already had a look this morning on the projected ETA into Cocos, and they're a couple of weeks ahead. So it's highly likely, but I haven't made a final decision. I'll try and do that today or tomorrow. Exactly how we manage each of the stopovers. But Cocos is going to be longer, possibly even up to 2 weeks. They're scheduled to be there for 10 days, I think it is. We might add 4 days there. We'll see. So, if you've ever tried to meet boats, it's a lottery. So, good luck, Val, on that one. I'll try to give you an ETA of what I think the timelines will be from Cocos to Mauritius as well, based on the average speed so far. But this is the area now where you get to where you might not get good trade wind weather, so it might not be consistent times. You get some headwinds and they're going to slow right down. So that's how that works. But I'll try and give you an ETA for Mauritius. Okay. G'day, Rachel. Sorry I haven't got back to your answers yet. I've been so flat out. It's crazy. Don read today that we have negative IOD, Indian Ocean Dipole, forming, which is forecast to bring extensive wet weather in the next few months. Okay. Any idea how that would affect sailors? They're going to get wet, but at least it dries without salt. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't gone up to it, but that's interesting. So usually when it's extensive wet, it's going to muck up the winds as well. So I haven't looked at any long range forecasting. That's a bit challenging, but interesting to hear that. So thanks for that. Rachel, do you know how many of the fleet are using their motors? There's only one that's adamantly not using the motor that I know of, and that's all. But even though they can, they don't necessarily, because it's not easy. There's only certain situations when you can effectively use your motor, and that's when it's pretty much glass out, not too much hobby horsing and all that sort of stuff. So, but they can. It's in the rules, and I'd say, I don't know. There might be, there's only one, maybe two, that decide not to use their motor. To get an advantage out on the course. They'll still use their motor to get in and out of ports and bits and pieces, but that's about it. I know it's a long way off. But will they leave receipt on the subscription? No, nothing's scheduled. So yes, it's too far out, and it's impossible to do that. The dates are completely unreliable, and only a guide. It could be a week out, or more. So, but certainly we will manage that towards the finish in Antigua. We've set the timeline for Antigua. If I remember rightly, the prize giving is set for the 20th of March. And so we will work back the ETAs from there. So that's the only thing that is a hard date, the prize giving, when it's all over, which is March the 20th. The rest of it, we could make them leave earlier, or we could hold them off till later, because we want them to arrive at a set time. Okay. Rachel, what does the entire entree look like for Cocos? I'll show you tomorrow. I'll put a map up tomorrow and show you. Okay, that's it. We're done. So thank you very much, everybody. We will hope all goes well. See you tomorrow. And it's raining here. Oh, boy, my car's still not working. I'm dealing with a lot of subjects right now. But anyway, all good. Okay. Okay. I will say goodbye. See you. Bye-bye.